So we're going to get started. This room is, again, being recorded, and we're going to be sharing that out. Please share it with your family and friends. One of the things we wanted to do today, like I said, is to be able to go over, like people say, call your congressman or do this or do that. And we want to make sure that you all know who to get in touch with and who not to get in touch with and how to do this thing. Because if you're calling the wrong person or you're calling with the wrong information or energy, then you can be seen as, you can create a lot of problems for yourself. Let's be honest with it, right? If you call, say, for instance, you call and say, well, I want to give, the vice president a piece of my mind. So I'm going to call her and I'm going to talk to her like, sister girl, what the hell are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. No, you could easily be put on a terrorist watch list because you're too emotional. And that's not how you would approach an elected official, right? It's not like you're calling your town hall because you have something happening, and call the right person for the right thing. What you think about that, Arthur? Isn't that like very important?
Yes, it's very important. That's very extreme. That's extremely important. Is whenever you're calling an elected official at whatever level, it is always good to be calm but adamant, and also to be concise and bullet pointed in what you communicate. They don't want to, and especially if you're talking to one of their aides, they don't want to go into no long thing. Okay, they want to, because basically what they're on the phone, they're listening to you and they're writing down what you say.
Absolutely. Yeah. Go ahead,
And
Arthur.
believe me, they get the incumbent or the candidate. They get those notes. Don't think they go in the garbage. But the more intelligent that you sound, the more bullet pointed the statement that you want to get to that politician, the better. That's all I got to say on that right now.
All right. Thank you, Arthur. So let's get into it. I hope you guys have some kind of like notepad or paper or something. If not, then it's going to be like listening to this again. But we found some of the really great sites. Like if you're dealing with something, and a lot of times I found out people really don't know, they don't contact the right person for the right level of government, and everything is kind of duplicated on the federal, state, and local level. If you guys remember back to social studies or civics class, if you had civics like I did, I mean, that was drilled into our heads in like grade school. But some people may have forgotten. If you know about all this, then forgive me, I just gotta tamp down on it, like I said, for those who may not have known, because I don't know what level of or what, just bringing it back to your memory. So everything that happens on the federal government side also happens within the state, also happens within either the county or the city or town. I mean, and those are the different levels. You have an executive branch. That was executive branch basically enforces the laws that are being made or have already been made. The legislative branch creates the laws and creates, you have your judiciary or judicial that basically tells you they interpret the laws, right? So they read the law and they'll say, well, this is what it says or this is what it does not say. So you have all of that happening on the federal, local, and state level. And what we wanted to be able to do, I'm not going to be too basic with you guys, is we don't want you calling your U.S. congressman because, I'm going to make an extreme example, your lights on your street went out. That's not something that they would handle. You would contact either the power company, or if it's a hole that's like a big, crater, we call it a crater in the, road or something, you would either contact your mayor of your town, or you would contact the county council or whomever, but you don't contact like the state representative for something that's local like that, like a something that's going on there. Does everybody understand that? I'm not trying to be too basic with it, but I just wanted you guys to know. So sometimes we have this wonderful thing that here is called the computer, and you can access, a lot of times you can access your local government, and you can access your federal, and you can access your state. I just wanted to give you guys, they're in the Jumbotron. You got house.gov. You come in with your zip code, and they'll tell you who represents you in the U.S. House, or the House of Representatives. And I believe it's the same thing for the Senate, but I think it would be senate.gov. And you just put your zip code in, it'll tell you who your representative is. And those are important to get to the federal level. And we're going to go into that for HR 40 in a minute. Go ahead, Arthur.
The other site is Common Cause. They don't have an app for phones, but if you just go on your computer, or if you just pull up your Google on your phone, you go to Common Cause, you put in your address, and bam, it takes you right to who your proper U.S. House or congressman is.
And yeah, Common Cause is one. It's in the Jumbotron also.
Right.
And also USA.gov. That's in the Jumbotron. And my favorite is ballotpedia.org. That's in the Jumbotron. I like the .govs and .orgs. But Ballotpedia, you put in your full mailing address and your email, and they pull up everything. And I just wanted to go over this with you all. For the HR 40, you would deal with that as far as your Congress and your, well, right now HR is House resolution. Well, how it would be, House. I'm letting them know House resolution.
Yeah, that's all we're dealing with today.
Yeah, you just deal with your House resolution, which is your congressman in the House, not your senators. So please don't call your senators for HR 40 because they're in the Senate. HR is House resolution, which is the House of Representatives Resolution Bill 40. So please don't call your U.S. senators talking about an HR, because they're going to be, it's good. I mean, we want you to be as to be as knowledgeable and look like you know what you're on top of yourself. So I hope that makes sense. If you called the Senate, that's the other side of the Congress that does not deal with the House bill, and we want you to come in there as wise as you are and as passionate as you are, and knowing the right people to contact. That's the reason for this call. So you would contact whoever your U.S. House district, or they're going to give you your district. They're going to tell you who your representative is, and you click on that, and it's going to take you to their particular link, like how to contact that person. It's going to have their bio. It's going to have their party affiliation, how long they've been in office, how many years they've been in, and their biography, who preceded them, how much money. Let me see. It tells you like any military ranks, awards, and honors that they've received. Which House committee is that representative on? And any kind of key votes that person has done. Okay. And it'll tell you, I'm trying to see what else is telling you here. Basically, it breaks down like a synopsis of their career. So I really like ballotpedia.org. Go ahead, Arthur.
No, I was going to say that just so that you do your pre-call research, you can also go to congress.gov and pull up HR 40. And in the preamble or the heading of HR 40, it gives you all the names of the congressmen that have signed on as co-sponsors to HR 40. So that way you'll know whether or not your congressman has signed on.
Right. Now, we thank you, Arthur. That's
Yeah,
right. I didn't put that in there, but I'll try to put that on the jumbotron also. And
yeah.
it's just in the top line of it. You could put in HR 40, and then you go into the actual bill, and it'll actually have it there. And it's a huge paragraph that has it. Now, the reason we want to get into this HR 40 so heavy is because if you had listened to, we're going to give you a brief synopsis of issues that we're dealing with it, and I'm going to try to remember everything. But one of them is that HR 40 has, that's the House Resolution 40. It was it first introduced by John Conyers in 1989. And when it was first introduced by John Conyers, it was a different bill. It was basically a study for reparations for the descendants of chattel slavery in this country, and we'll call it freedmen because freedmen is also listed in so many. I think it's like 3 million different times in law in the United States, and whether it's the U.S. or state or whatever locally. So, but it's for, our group of people who were former descendants of chattel slavery in the United States. And every year John Conyers went to um, call on the bill in the House. They, tabled it, kept tabling it every year. And they tabled it until he had resigned in, I think, 2017. And then Sheila Jackson Lee had taken up the mantle to sponsor the bill, the HR. But by the time she sponsored it, it had been altered by NARC and NCOBRA, and they had written themselves into that bill. Now, the problem with it is what I mean by written themselves, they actually added 6 different positions on the committee, and also in their literature of what they're putting out is they basically wanted a closed door session with no transcript, and they wanted I think it's $200,000. It was like a GS 18 level payment for people that are on that commission. And also there was the bill has it from 1619 until 1865, so that's not even a valid year. It should be 1776 when the United States was founded until present day, and that's
Okay.
not included. So that ended at, according to the bill, they're trying to start the time that we, from 1619 until 1865, when the Emancipation Proclamation freed everybody. But they're not including anything dealing with the Reconstruction, peonage, Jim Crow, the Black Codes, mass incarceration. They're not including any of that in the study. So that's highly problematic. Luke, Arthur, did you have something to add to that?
Yeah, I gotta stop it here. Let me explain what's going on here. The main purpose of this call is a call to action for you to get on your phones to call your congressman to get them to withdraw their co-sponsorship of HR 40. Now, let me explain to you how this thing works and why I've been doing certain things in the past few weeks. If anybody in this room has been on my Twitter feed, you will notice that I've been retweeting the NARC post, who should receive reparations and in what forms. This is what's going on. You got to understand that HR 40 is a gateway. It's part, there's an A and a B to this, okay? HR 40 is the gateway, and if you look at who should receive reparations and in what forms, it spells out explicitly what they intend to do when they get on that commission. It lets you know, and everything in this post to a freedman, or has the specificity mentality, is totally offensive. Okay, when you go to that website and look at, you just put in your Google search, who should receive reparations and in what forms, and you click on it, and it opens up directly, and you read it. And especially for those that want additional talking points when they're talking to their congressman or one of their aides, it's all right there. You understand what I'm saying? So the main thing that we are trying to do, if you want to bullet point it to 3 parts when you're talking to, let's say, the congressional aide, the first is lack of specificity. The second is secrecy in deliberations and no access to transcripts. And the third is driven by 2 Pan-African organizations that you do not approve of by the names of NARC and NCOBRA, and let them know that you've read their website and you don't like what you see. And so therefore, as one of your constituents, you know, the person that keeps you in a job, we are requesting that you withdraw your co-sponsorship. How does that feel, family?
Does everyone understand what needs to be done and why? Or I was in the process of why.
I'm sorry.
Well, that's okay. No, that's fine. Because I mean, we're going to let people in to be able to comment in a little bit, because
Yeah.
I think that's important. But yeah, I mean, NARCN and Cobra have members who are, I mean, they have members in each organization. Like someone may be the president of something, and they are a member of one of the other organizations' treasurer, or whatever the case may be. And as we had stated in our previous breakdown, they're operating as, they want to operate as the federal repository for our reparations money. And with that, they comes operating expenses and managing the money expenses, and that would come out of our reparations money, because this is not a federal government agency or federal government, you know, branch. It would be an independent agency that wants to handle our reparations. And that's on the federal level. And they've also set up state agencies, or they're in the process of setting up state agencies that the money would trickle down to, and also a local or city or county-wide agency that the money would trickle down to. So you would have all this red tape, these 3 independent agencies that are handling our reparations, and you would have to apply to the local agency in order to get your reparations. If you wanted to open a business, if you wanted to find out, hey, I want to open a local business, they would have to approve of your proposal or your request in order for you to possibly get the money. And I'm not even saying you would even get the money, because like Evanston, they have First Repair, and they're more of a local example of what they've been touting and bragging about when I was on their call last Saturday. And they're more of a they had a ping pong ball lottery or something, and whoever won would get $25,000 to go directly to the bank, so that they would be able to put it towards a mortgage for a new house. And so the people, whoever won that ping pong ball lottery thing, did not even get the money in their hands, and they didn't necessarily state that they were a descendant of chattel slavery. They were just, I think, Arthur, what you can tell more about that,
Well,
because
see,
that was
I'll
kind
tell
of
you more
weird.
about that. Also, the other thing that I mentioned, the program in Evanston is run by Peter Braithwaite. He's a Jamaican. What is a Jamaican doing running a reparations program for American freedmen? That's what you need to ask, because I've taken a list of all of the Caribbean and African educational, business, and cultural clubs and organizations that are in Chicago. None of them have freedmen as members, and none of them have freedmen as leaders of those organizations. None of them. most of the contractors in the Chicago area that are owned by Blacks are owned by Africans and Caribbeans, 90% of them. And several of them only hire, there's this one, Ujama in Chicago, it's owned by a Nigerian, but he only hires Hispanics. And all of these organizations support Narcan and Cobra. And so we got an immigrant problem when it comes to our reparations program.
I don't.
One of the things
Yeah.
that you got to understand too is that HR 40 is their power. Narcan and Cobra, that is their power. They don't have to talk to us, but we can take them down by way of our congressmen by demanding that they withdraw their co-sponsorship of HR 40 as their constituents. That's what we can do.
May I interrupt for a moment, please?
Yes,
Sure.
ma'am.
Now, I've attached Roz, I sent it to you in a back channel. The HR 40 Commission, and if you go into the bill on the government website, you can see who the co-sponsors are. There's 169 Democrats, and once you found who your congressperson is, you can reach out to them by the means that Arthur and Ross has already specified to you.
Thank you, Angie. Yeah, I had posted the link already, but I could go in and make sure it's the same. It's the same link because it's in there. But
Okay.
that's the main thing. Thank you, Angie. I appreciate that. Thank you, Arthur. Now, that's the thing that we need for everybody to tamp down on. It's not even the freedmen who descended from chattel slavery in this country that are calling the shots. And for the most part, the thing that really is diabolical is that when about, say, 2 years ago, I would say in 2019, we picked up the mantle and started calling our congressmen and started trying to get them to sign on to the HR 40 bill, because we were, trying to get the Darity edits. Dr. Darity had made, he's renowned economist, and he's been studying it. At that time, it was for like 31 years. It's like 33 years now for our economy and what we need. And we were trying to get his edits into the HR 40 bill. Well, they did the markups, which is, they did the final markup on the bill. And when you do the final markup, they're not going to go in and start changing that bill. So HR 40 is not a bill that somebody can go into and is going to start changing to this or to that. They're not going to do it. So we need the people who did sponsor, the congressmen who did sponsor it, to be able to say, well, this is a bad bill. I called my congressman, and I made sure that all my family was right there, and they included their names and, zip code or whatever the case. And I spoke for, them. And since they were able to just give their name and they could verify it and say, hey, I'm a constituent of this congressman, and I think that I want this, his support or her support to be withdrawn because of these reasons. So I hope everyone understands why it's a bad bill. It needs to be withdrawn. And if you have family members who vote in that district or whatever in the room, then they can just stay on the phone and say, hey, I'm gonna put you on speakerphone. They give their names and say, my name is such and so, and I'm a constituent. My name, and I agree. I didn't, or whatever. They can just sit right there, and that person, that receptionist or secretary or aide for that congressman will write down all that information. And
Right.
please be nice to her. Please be nice to her. It's usually a young lady, because they're taking a lot of notes, and they're generally, that's your first point of contact. Don't call there being upset with that person. I mean, she's working a job, and it's a hard job, and she's the first point of contact. So please be nice to her, okay? Are there any questions on what we've already spoken about so far? You guys can start letting people come up to the stage if they, and please, we got, how we do it. We keep people to like 2 minutes. So if you have any questions, please come to the stage now. And welcome to everyone that just got in. And you can invite more people in if you'd like, but we're asking you to share, and let people know, that we're having this space, because we've been getting a lot of like, what do we do? How do we do it? Do we need to do a letter, like a mass letter that's the same information? And I can tell you that your congressmen, even your local representatives, when you're reaching out to them, they would much rather hear your voice in how you speak and knowing your constituent than having a form letter and that you sign off on. That and especially they just rather hear from their constituency, and it just has so much more of an impact. We do have someone. Sadiku, how are you doing this morning, brother? It's 9:40. You have a couple minutes.
No, definitely. I'm glad you are having this space so that I can come in. I was intent to be right here at the time, but I think this is a great opportunity for us to do an action plan on this and get everybody to call their congressman and put it out on our social media uh, so that we can get this done. And then we can look forward to the next step, what the next step is going to be. So I'm here just to get the information and be filled in so that I can make sure, I contact my congresswoman and try to do as you stated to get a couple of constituents, not just myself but others, on the same phone call, and also submit something in writing to let them know that this is a bad bill. We would appreciate if you go ahead and withdraw your support from this bill, because this bill is not something that we find or that we believe or we know that this is not going to be acceptable and doable in its present format. And we need to have this bill totally and completely redid. And there's no way just to stand there or sit there and let this bill go forward in its present state, without the necessary changes. So that's what I'm here for, just to find out what the action plan is, how can we go about doing what we need to do to be supportive of one another and follow the steps, whether it be 5 or 10 steps, call them or leave a message, or we need to get them on the phone at the correct time, or continue to call and dial back, or whatever we have to do to make sure we contact the sponsor in our respective districts, so that we can get this bill taken care of. And I think it's a great thing what you're doing, Roz. And I just wish that we can get the support that we're looking for. And I'll be adamant about the people in my state and making sure that, because I'm from Ohio, and I want to make sure that I'm following the correct guidelines. So, like you said, to be respectful, to be concerning with their own daily schedule, but also to let them know that we are constituents and this is what we would like to have this taken care of, and like to have the respective congressmen do what they need to do. So,
and not just your own district, not just your own district. Let's say if you live in South Carolina and you got family in Indiana, you should be calling them to call their representative. Do you understand? Your relatives, I mean, everybody, all your relatives that you can think of, whether they be in your district or in other districts, you should have them on this program calling. The important thing is to exponentialize this. I'm gonna tell y'all what happened yesterday. This was weird, but it happened yesterday. I usually get my packages delivered to one of those UPS stores, and so I went there yesterday to pick up some packages that I had ordered. Right? And this particular UPS store is owned by a freedman, and so I was there yesterday picking up my packages, and I decided to talk to the employees because all of them are Black, and they was listening to me. They was writing things down, and who should I call, and then I pulled up the common calls on my phone, and then I let them know who their congressman is, and this is who you should call. Then this white lady and her husband walked in, right? And so they're listening, and they said, and I was about to leave, right? And so the lady, she walked up to me and stopped me. She said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, interrupt your time or anything, but you were mentioning something about HR 40, right? And I said, yeah. And she says, isn't that the reparations bill? And I said, yes. And she said, I was listening to what you were saying because my congregation, she turned out to be Jewish, my congregation supports reparations. And so she said, explain to me more. So I told her about the two organizations that are running HR 40, the lack of specificity and all this. She says, well, you're telling me that these organizations intend to take American money for reparations and give it to people from the Caribbean and Africa? I said, yes, that's what they fully intend to do. She says, well, that doesn't sound like justice to me. She said, that's a mishandling of our money. She said, so she belongs to she has a political club at her synagogue. And a year ago, a person from N'COBRA talked to them about reparations. And that's how they got their whole synagogue in support of reparations. So she told me that she's going to have a Zoom call with her politics club next Friday. And she asked me to get on the Zoom call and talk to them about this HR 40 situation. In the meantime, she called me and said that she just called her congressman and asked him to withdraw his support. Because she went on to NARC's website and read their post, and she didn't like what she read. It's not that hard, family. It's not that hard. So that's all I got to say on that.
Okay, thank you, Arthur and Sadiku. So, but yes, like Arthur said, Sadiku, if you can, like some of your family members in other states may not, just to make it easy, let's make it as easy as possible on them. So when you call them and say, hey, I need your address, and you can, if you're at home, and you could just type in their address and say, hey, this is who your congressman is. I need you to call him. Or, you can be on the phone with them on a conference call or however, it doesn't matter, because we're really trying to get this thing to go out where, I feel kind of responsible, because when it was like a very few people that were sponsoring it, we made a huge effort in 2019 and 2020 to get people to sign on as co-sponsors. And then the numbers kept going up. But what it is, family, it's a bait and switch, right? Once we realized they weren't going to accept the Darity edits. And once we realized that they were, had already written themselves into the bill and there was no specificity, and that, the people running a lot for these other organizations were not even us, and they had closed door hearings, then that became highly problematic, and they weren't going to change it. Even the town hall that they had on Saturday, for 1 hour, they were introducing themselves, and they had all of these narratives about chattel slavery that had happened, but they had a Q&A for about another hour, and then they had these little breakout rooms. And my breakout room lasted, I think it was like 14 minutes. There were 14 people in there, and I was the only person that really got to, tap down on something. I said, look, you guys have 3 levels of operation that you're trying to manage our reparations money, and we don't want that. We want direct cash payments. So we don't want to go through you all at all. Now, once we get our reparations and we decide that we want you under us, under the people who are the freedmen who are getting their reparations, then we'll decide that, because we don't want you all to sit there and direct and route and take money. Because if somebody is managing your money on 3 different levels, that you're going to be getting your money, they're going to be peeling off a sizable chunk at every level, right? So we don't want that. We want you all to be able to get direct cash payments like you did for the COVID relief that we were getting directly from the Treasury Department. That's how everybody else gets their money. And one of the things too, I wanted to let everybody know, just to just have a mind for what we're talking about. Some people, some of these Native American tribes, which are y'all want to call them Indians, whatever the case may be, people are getting as much as, like, I think one tribe that people are getting about $50,000 individually a month. Some people are getting $20,000 individually a month. Some people are $15,000 individually a month, and some are at $12,000 individually a month. So I don't know about you, but even with $12,000 individually a month, that is life changing for us. Life changing. And why? But they don't go through any agency to get to the people, it goes directly to the people.
Right.
They get it individually. So why are they trying to set themselves up? I mean, it's like a hustle, right? They're trying to set themselves up to manage it, because they might feel, hey, this guy Michael, he's going to spend it on a car, and if he does, so what? That's what I say. So what? It's his money. Nobody else. I'm tired of people treating us like, the paternalism is ridiculous. It's unreal with us, because they come in and say, hey, they're like kids, so we're going to treat them like kids. They do not even allow us to talk directly to the people that are running this thing, Narcan and Cobra. So we're going to go around them too. We're going to go directly to our congressmen who answer to us. Is everybody with me? Anybody else would like to speak or have a question? Please come to the stage. I think Cindy B is coming in now. Cindy B, did you have a question, dear?
No, I wanted to say something about these nonprofit organizations. I used to work for nonprofit organizations. I used to sit on boards of nonprofit organizations. And you keep saying our reparations. We won't see a penny of it. They won't give us any of it. Okay? I know that if they are able to get the money, they're going to have consultants to consult the consultants first on how to go about reparations. Then they're going to go to different meetings or different conferences and different, setting up the criteria of this reparations program. We will never see the money. People who are, let's say, the less fortunate will only get programs. So they should not be allowed to even be able to be the ones to get our reparations, period. It should go through the federal government. We have to understand they're not looking to give us a dime. And that's really all I wanted to say.
Thank you for that. Absolutely. Thank you
Absolutely
for,
true.
yeah, yeah, because that,
Absolutely true. I
right.
was two things. I was schooled on how these nonprofits works exactly. One of Freedmen here in Chicago that works with us, and she laid it out exactly in the way that Cindy B just laid it out. She was telling me that just for starters, most nonprofits take anywhere between 16 to 50% for management and administrative costs. That's off the top. Whereas on the other hand, and I think I told you, Roz, about my son's girlfriend. She owns an apartment building, right? One of her tenants is an American Indian from one of the tribes that receives reparations, right? But her reparations does not go through the council of her tribe that speaks to the government. Her check comes directly from the United States Treasury with no taxes taken out of it, and she doesn't pay any taxes on this $7,000 a month check that she gets from the US Treasury for reparations. So why should we be any damn different?
And that's I mean, even with $7,000 a month, that's life changing for our people. I mean, and that's no money compared to some of these other tribes. I'm telling you, they're like $20,000 a month, and there's no taxes taken out of those individuals' checks. And I mean, one month is 20,000, the next month is 20,000, and I mean, really, I mean, that's how they live, and they don't tell us, as a group, because they don't necessarily want us to know, or they're not mixed in with us and these, because they're getting their reparations. So why are we having, I mean, we're not able to even talk to some of these groups or the people running these organizations directly when they have town halls. Is really not a town hall. They're talking amongst themselves and they're patting themselves on the back. I'm gonna let you guys know it's very insulting and annoying, because you can't even have that conversation with them because they're mixed in. And when we went to the HR 40 hearing in Juneteenth of 2019, I was the first one at that door, and it was 6 o'clock in the morning. Okay. And when they opened the door finally about 9:30 to let people in for the hearing, they started letting the news agencies and reporters in, and it was Narcan and Cobra got in front of me because Sheila Jackson Lee and a lot of those Democratic Congress peoples, they were like buddies with them. So I saw how that all moved. They were sitting in the front of, in the front of the room, and they were sitting in really great seats, and they were buddies with all the people on. And I was like, wow. So what happened? They were already in the mix with the people. Now, who does Sheila Jackson Lee and all of those people have to listen to in Congress? They have to listen to us, the people. And we do not want, we don't want these people managing or mismanaging and misappropriating our money. And just like Cindy B said, even with the first repair, they were doing ping pong balls, family, with whoever wins gets $25,000, and they're going to send the money to a bank to say, oh, well, you get 25,000. That is not reparations. That is a doggone lottery game, and they are ripping the people off. And who's to say that who got the actual money was someone who descended from chattel slavery? Why is our reparations a ping pong game going to somebody because they black? That's not even giving us the respect that we're due. And honestly, a lot of these little legacy organizations and people who signed on and approved of it, they don't read these bills to even know just how much of a bait and switch it is. They think they're actually helping with reparations, and they're actually not helping with reparations. So we do need to go and do an end around on them too and say, okay, well, since you guys are going to try to bait and switch the people and bait and switch us to approve and to support this, we're going to go an end around on you and contact our congressmen and the House of Representatives and tell them to withdraw their co-sponsorship. So one of the things I had kind of suggested doing too is when you do that, and let's make this go viral, right? Because if we can be on these Twitter spaces and we can talk to, you know, our family and friends, when people do it, if they come into Twitter, they come into Facebook, if they go into IG and just say, I just called my congressman and told him no to HR 40. So if we start seeing that, we really start seeing that. Like I know there was a space like last week or so, it was 30,000 people. Imagine 30,000 people contacting their congressmen and their families and saying no to HR 40. And when they called them, they posted that. And that was something we need that. I mean, you guys think that that's a great, you know, plan of action? Like I said, it's not a strategy. If you call your congressman and say, I just called my congressman and told him or her no to the number 2 HR 40 and put that in a hashtag. What do you guys think?
You, it's easy, Roz. I'm sitting here doing it as we speak. And
That's
as
what
soon
I'm
as I'm
talking about,
finished,
Angie.
check it out. Check it out. I'm going to post it on my other social media. Yeah, it's
Thank
real
you.
easy.
Put it on, post it on. It's easy. It's easy to do. You call your congressman, and if you, I don't care. I mean, if you have a speech impediment, I mean, get another family member to call and you just say your name because you live in the house or whatever next door, down the street or whatever. Just don't worry about that because they get all kinds of calls and that are coming in there. Just like I said, just please be very courteous to the young lady that answers the phone who is the aide and tell them no, you don't, you want them to withdraw their co-sponsorship from HR 40 and you can tell them why and tell them you can, you know, tell them that you're going to call back or you're going to see. I called my congressman and I said, look, I know you're running for attorney general and I'm going to see what you do now, how you respond, because I don't want you being my state's attorney general if you're not going to listen to me while you're in Congress. You're certainly not going to listen to me then. So if you know what direction they're trying to head into, whether it's the Senate or be the governor or whatever, that adds more to it. Then they know that you researched them to tell them, say, not only am I your constituent now, you're going to need me for the future for that vote, right? So you got to listen to what I'm saying and why I'm saying it, because you've been baited and switched too. So I'm sorry, there's a couple more people. Let's let them in the room and let them be able to speak for a couple minutes. Fearless and then Mark, okay?
Hey, good morning, everybody. Yeah, I spoke to Brother Arthur yesterday, and I did everything on point. Um, the aid, like the one you was telling me about with Alma Adams in North Carolina. I think they just pretty much know me because it's like they actually get to know my zip code and everything. But it's like really, I gave them enough information as far as when I sent the text out. I mean the tweet out yesterday, and then I had went and called, just to follow up, but just let them know, look, I'm getting to you in a multiple ways, and it's not like this is some one way ticket or one way street. But yeah, that's a very good strategic strategy that needs to be done, and we need to put more emphasis across this nation about our demands, and it's already past time to do it. We have to be very proactive on it and get and stop I mean, make these things happen, because it's like we all got these schedules and times and things that we doing. We got to make things happen in a little bit of time we do have, and stop. We got to do this thing in unison, man, and stop. We got to make things happen, because I'm a lot of us, we are sick and tired of these actions of people that look like us, the narkies and cobras and stuff like that. And it's just slowing the process. It's like, man, what's your purpose? What are you really trying to achieve? You already making yourself not be as specific when you talk the way you talk, as far as being some sort of uh, uh, actions and stuff, man. It's like, look, the late John Conyers did what he did, but look, you can't just knock somebody just be a yes cadet and just think you don't have no critical critique, correct critique thinking skills. You have to make things happen and say you got to question. You have to make questions. You can't just be just sitting there and just letting stuff just get by you. I mean, this 21st century. But any century, it doesn't even matter. You can go all the way back to Kali Guy House. She said doing the same thing 100-something years ago. American freedmen. And we're making that thing known like that way back then. That's over 100-something years ago. Let me stop, man. Go ahead.
No, that's okay, family. Thank you so much for that support. I mean, yeah, that's what we want to do. We want to, I mean, like I said, for me, I'm gonna tell y'all from the bottom of my heart, it's like being on these Twitter spaces, and I pop in and I see and I listen, and then I might pop back in and I see and I listen, and it's great to laugh or have fun, or whatever the case you may be doing, learning something, and this is part of the learning, right? And this is very serious, but what we thought about in saying, like, what can we do to get our people to not feel so helpless? And, what should we do next? And that's a lot of what we get. And how should we do it? I'm not going to reveal any kind of strategy, like, out here in the public space, because I don't know who is on the Twitter space. I don't know. And I'm real, I'm very selecting in who I let people know different things. But this is an action item. This is something that we want to get out. We want you to share it out. And it's nothing that your congressman is going to say, oh yeah, I know about that Twitter space you got on, and who cares? He's going to be answering to you. I mean, people a lot of times will give these Congress people, they will be so deferential and subservient to them because they're in Congress. They work for you. Please remember that. They work for us. They work for us. They work for us. I have to say it 3 or 4 times, right? Because people will sit there and be like, oh, but they're in Congress. They have a degree. They make more money than me. Who cares? They work for us. Right?
Right.
So what I need for you to understand with that is when you call them and they're going to be like, basically, it's a yes ma'am or yes sir. That's what's going on in their minds.
Right. And the difference is, and you got to understand your power. Yeah, okay, Narcan and Cobra, they have a lot of familiarity with people in Congress and all this other stuff. And they can influence policy. That's on the one side. But on the other side, because you're the constituent, you are the one that decides whether or not that policymaker has a job. Now let's weigh this out. You understand? And that's what it boils down to. The other thing that you can do if you want to keep this rolling, also, find out if someone is running against that politician, and also talk to their to the people that are running against your congressman. about this subject so that, let's say, if that person does get elected, that they won't immediately sign on to HR 40. They will withhold their sponsorship because they have knowledge from you. So go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Roz.
That's okay. No, I also had called the upcoming because my congressman, like I said, is not running again. They're running for to AG Attorney General in my state. So I called the person that I think is going to I'm thinking this person is going to replace them out of all the contenders. And I called them, I sent them the information, and I basically told them about the bait and switch. And we were on the phone. I said, look, when you win, this is what we can't be having this, because you will get a flood of calls into your office and it won't be pretty. And he's like, okay, he listened because he's trying to get that seat and get into Congress. And so what Arthur said is right and exact. We can't just be like, okay, well, I'm gonna be sheepish on it. I want you to get paid. Everybody on here that's a freedman, American freedman, I want you to get paid your direct payments from the Treasury Department for your reparations. If you're mad at me for that, then so be it. I don't care. Only a fool slaps away the hand that's helping them, right? And I know I don't have any fools on this line. So